was going to say thank you, but I'm going to say deal. Thank you, everybody. So last year, I had the honour of giving the opening speech when you all came to Manchester. Greater Manchester runs through my veins. I'm so proud to call that place my home, a place that welcomes everyone and where we all just muddle along together. But yesterday, our Jewish community in Manchester was subject to a brutal terror attack. And an attack on them is an attack on us all, because nobody should face hatred of any kind for any reason. Nobody should go out to celebrate their faith with their community and not come home. So to our Jewish community, we are thinking of you. And we all know too well that the way the mainstream parties do politics is driving all the rest of us in society apart. But I'm proud that we're offering a real alternative to hatred and injustice. We know that we have to have difficult conversations with people who, on the surface, may not agree with us, people who've been subject to lies and misinformation, and when you're ground down by life, the lies become believable. But we always tell the truth. And our Wales siblings are driving this brave and progressive politics. And if we want to know what us here in England should be doing in the future, we simply need to look at what Wales are doing right now. They're brave. They literally have an actual dragon on their flag. And they're always ahead at doing the right thing. The smoking ban, votes at 16. They're already well on the way to banning greyhound racing while England lags behind. And I think a lot of you know, as the woman with 4 greyhounds, that one really hits home. Wales is built up from mining communities, working class towns. People in Wales have never not had to fight, and our local Green parties in Wales have been fighting with their communities for better. There's so much I could say about Wales, but you're not here to laugh at my jokes about Welsh cakes and Tom Jones, so I won't make too many of them. But when I was in Cardiff over the summer, I picked up a stack of campaign leaflets, and I've been lucky to travel around and see a lot of literature as I've been around, but that day's literature was different. We were campaigning at the time of the chaos around personal independence payments. Disabled people in constant fear because Labour refused to give clarity on PIP. Thousands left in limbo, unsure if their support would be torn away and the world become even harder to access. Now, us Greens are known for being nice, and that is something to be proud of because positive campaigning matters and we should not give up on that. But when marginalised communities are under attack, nice isn't always enough. And Wales showed me what it means to be brave, because that day, on that leaflet, they talked about PIP, there was a photo of the Chancellor, and the words, morally repugnant. And I actually gasped when I read it, because it wasn't polite, it wasn't sugar-coated, it certainly was not nice, but it was true. Because how else can we describe policies that rob people of sleep, push them deeper into poverty and strip away their dignity? Sometimes telling the truth isn't nice, but it is necessary. So next year, in May, in 2026, we will see the biggest election in between general elections. It will be huge for the Green Party because I'm up for re-election in Trafford, so you've all got to come and help me. I'm joking. What I will be doing is heading to Wales because May 2026 is the Senedd elections and we have the chance to get Greens elected into the Senedd and speaking up and out for Wales. And this is not just a nice dream. This is possible. Recent polls and articles are saying that we could win 4 seats. And Wales are fighting. They're not scared. There's too much to lose, but there is a lot to gain. And so this is where I'll stop saying Wales and they and them, and I'll start saying we. Because we are one party. We need to show up for each other. And in the run-up to the Senedd elections, we need to muck in. Because what happens in Wales is a blueprint for England. If people see Greens winning in Wales, it is further proof that we can win anywhere. So let's replicate our success in the general election. Let's channel our inner Welsh dragon. And so, Anthony Slaughter, we're with you. And in my best Welsh Bolton accent, umlaen, or as we might say in English, let's do this.
Diolch, Anna, diolch. Diolch i bawb. Look at you. I wish you could see the view from up here. It's just so good to see so many of us. Prynaw yn dach yn hadledd. Shmai, greetings from Cymru. Change is a word we hear used so much in politics. It's been used and abused over many years. Yet it's a word I've been hearing every single day on the streets across these islands. We saw it at last year's election, where Labour shamelessly plastered change, just that one word, over their entire campaign. But friends, fear is the defining feeling of our present moment. People are worried about putting food on the table, worried about paying rent and bills, and that fear has grown in the empty space where hope should be, causing a rise of fascism on our streets. And after promising change, this Labour government has snuffed out every hope people had for it. And people were desperate for that hope when they voted last year. But Labour lied. I meet die-hard Labour voters every day who tell me, never again. A common refrain is that what this government is doing is even worse than the Tories. Their long-time voters can see this clearly now, and they are rightly furious. But now, change is starting to happen. Change being made by our Green candidates, our Green councillors, our Green members. This summer in Grangetown elected Matt Yode as their new Green councillor in one of Labour's safest heartlands. In a proudly working-class, multiracial community, and the ward with the biggest population in Wales, Greens replaced Labour. Congratulations, Matt. Conference, I look around this room, and I see a party that is more confident than it has ever been. And of course, there is someone who's already done so much to boost that confidence. I'm talking, of course, about our new leader, Zach Polanski. Diolch, Zach. And thank you to Ellie and Adrian for standing and for being part of our wonderful MP team, together with Sian and Carla, constantly raising our values in Westminster, holding the government to account, and thank you for everything you will continue to do for this party. Thanks also to Carla and Adrian for your years of steadfast and strong leadership. Your commitment and tireless work for our party has played a vital part in getting us to where we are today. Thank you. And last, but most definitely not least, croeso. Welcome to Team Martin and Rachel. It's brilliant that your diverse talents will now be on full show to the party, to the media, and to the public. This is what 21st century community-based politics looks like. And I know that you both will win us so many more new supporters and members. Together, conference, we are ready to offer hope to the millions of people who've had a gutful of the corruption, the lies, the cynical politics of the old parties. We are here to take on the corporations and the billionaires that are robbing us blind. We are ready to take on Farage and his band of Thatcherites who've simply swapped blue ties for purple ones. But they cannot swap the way they think, and they cannot swap their contempt for the working people of this country. And with Labour in a historic collapse, we know why his outfit is surging the polls. In the void where hope should be, they are more than happy to flirt with poisonous, insidious fear. Mainstream politics has let people's lives get so bad. Conference, you all know what I'm talking about. You see it every day in your communities. Rents are soaring, mortgages are unaffordable. Energy bills are stuck at record levels, while landlords, fossil fuel giants, and corporations rake in the profit off our backs. Our schools, hospitals, and other public services are on their knees. And what is Keir Starmer's plan? To pay vulture capitalists like BlackRock to build things for him, so we, the taxpayers, can rent them back from them forever. And we always thought the Tories were the ones who shoveled public money into the hands of the rich. But Labour want to be even bigger corporate sycophants. This Labour government has looked at the floundering Tory government, floundering Tories, and said, hold my beer. And in that gap, the far right are organising. We're seeing mobs outside hotels housing asylum seekers in Barry, in Mould. Mostly to date, locals have managed to outnumber them and say that their hate has no place in our communities. Conference, we are in a dangerous situation. And I know all too well what happens when the dark forces of fascism win. I grew up in apartheid South Africa. I witnessed it every day. When I was a teenager, I believed Nelson Mandela would die in prison. Eventually, I left the country, knowing if I didn't, I'd be drafted into the apartheid army. But then, in just a few short years, the regime crumbled under the pressure of an enormous social movement, supported by people across the world. Things can change quickly when the conditions are right and when people come together. We know in Wales about how powerful we can be when individuals come together. In Wales, the English state spent centuries trying to wipe out our language. They failed because we fought for it, because it is a part of who we are. Our fiery historian, the late Gwil Alf Williams, told us that Wales has survived those centuries because we, the people, have chosen to keep it alive. Cymraeg, our language, still faces major threats today. But because of the direct action of a generation of young people, it no longer faces the threat of a hostile government. Today, the major threat to our language, to our culture, is unrestrained capitalism. But it is also a negligent government that will only defend our language and culture as long as it doesn't come up against vested interests. And every year, more Welsh-speaking communities lose their local school, the very heart of the community. The brutal logic of austerity has decimated our social fabric across the board, but it's also undermining the very foundations of who we are. But unrestrained capitalism is the same hostile force that working people have fought for centuries. In the 18th century, Welsh men disguised themselves as women before destroying the toll booths that were ruining their livelihoods. They fought the rent seekers, just as community activist groups like Acorn fight greedy, unscrupulous landlords today. In my own life, I've been a squatter, a council tenant, and a private renter. I've seen the anxiety and despair caused by those unscrupulous landlords and bully boy bailiffs, which is why, as Greens, we will always fight for renters' rights and stand in solidarity with communities. In the 19th century, as industrial capitalism was making people's lives unbearable, the working class across these islands planned an uprising against the pre-democratic state. At the last minute, when it was called off, the workers of Merthyr were the only ones to go ahead, holding the town for days. Merthyr, the first place in the world where the red flag, the workers' banner, was flown. The solidarity that grew in places like these carried us through a century and a half. Remember the miners' strike? Welsh pits were among the last to go back to work. Such was the strength of the communities behind them. Wales is crying out for that radical voice to be heard again. Wales Green Party can and will be that voice, standing in solidarity with communities across the nation. But what has Labour, Welsh Labour, the so-called Workers' Party, done with our rich inheritance? Now, we know a thing or two in Wales about entire places being abandoned by governments and capitalism, but last year, Labour voters could never have imagined the government's absolute refusal to keep Port Talbot Steelworks open, only to step in to save Scunthorpe months later. This is the arrogance of a party that thinks Wales will always have no choice to back it. But now, that folly is becoming clear as Labour's support in Wales is collapsing. And that's not only because of Keir Starmer's lies and betrayals of ordinary people. In Wales, we've had 25, 26 years of a Labour government in Cardiff Bay. And what has it delivered? Appalling levels of child poverty, a population that's getting sicker, keeping our economy dependent on global corporations, and an utter failure to protect nature, our seas and rivers. The cuts to our museums, arts and heritage would shame any nation. When they were offered control over rail, the Welsh government said, no thanks, costing us billions in lost investment and the absolute scandal of no HS2 money. They turned down full control of water, even after the legacy of Tryweryn, where Liverpool evicted a rural Welsh-speaking community before flooding the valleys. And Welsh Labour ministers voted against calling for a Gaza ceasefire. Labour ministers who were too cowardly to challenge Starmer, despite the appalling violence and the breaking of international humanitarian law. Greens across these islands will continue to stand in solidarity with the people of Palestine and continue to call out the UK government's complicity in the ongoing genocide. And we will continue to do that until Palestine is free. But back in Wales, they endlessly tell us we have this wonderful, benign, radical Welsh government. Or they say nothing can be done about the biggest problems we face. They said we needed to wait for a Labour government in Westminster. Well, we have, and now we've had enough. A Labour Party that has given up on the people who've been loyal for so long. Well, the people are giving up on you. After all the years of gaslighting by Labour, they have held the door wide open to welcome Reform UK. Conference, we could now see Reform UK win the most seats in next year's Senate election. What does Reform have to offer Wales beyond their hate and poison? The best they can come up with is cutting waste in a country where budgets are stretched well past breaking point. The better question is, what does Wales have to offer Reform? They are salivating at the prospect of politicians' salaries, the offices and all the resources they will bank if the current polls come true. For them, Wales is nothing more than a staging post on the way to Downing Street. They don't care about our communities or our culture. They want to scrap Welsh language goals, such is their contempt for us. This colonial mindset from Farage and his friends won't fix any of the things we need fixing. Some of you might not know this, but the NHS was invented in the town of Tredegar by working class people. By working class people coming together to look after the health of the entire community. Nye Bevan decided to use the same system he experienced as a boy, and we will not stand by while Reform privatises this most cherished of Welsh creations. Unlike these grifters, our members, our candidates, are rooted in their communities. They know what will actually help people. Only the Greens are offering the real hope and real change to tackle this divisive narrative of hatred and bigotry. Too many people can't afford to start a family. Too many people can't afford a safe and warm home. So we will bring in rent controls to stop landlords profiteering off younger people's wages. We will ban no-fault evictions, which Labour has shamefully kept in place in Wales. We will nationalise Dŵr Cymru. The so-called not-for-profit water company, which has amongst the highest bills and worst environmental records in the UK. We will nationalise it, making it accountable to the public. I am determined to find ways to cut people's bills. And we will create skilled jobs and cut people's energy bills by investing Welsh pensions in a Welsh green industrial revolution and delivering a truly just transition. But there's a problem, Conference. Wales can't tax wealth. It can't end austerity to invest in our public services, because too many of the levers are still jealously guarded by Westminster. After years of attacks on devolution by the Tories, Starmer's enforcers in Wales refuse to hand over the powers we need to really improve Welsh people's lives. Joe Stevens, a Cardiff MP, the Welsh Secretary, has blocked devolving the Crown Estate, which owns the land and seas needed to build the clean energy revolution. She refuses to hand over the cash Wales is owed from the HS2 project. She refuses to discuss devolution of policing and justice, like in Scotland, even though Wales has the highest rate of incarceration of black people in Western Europe. Greens will fight for Wales. Devolution isn't working. That's why Greens in the Senedd, our national parliament, will make the case for independence as we bring the people of Wales with us. Westminster isn't working. Wales deserves better. Now, next year's Senedd election is our opportunity. You've heard about us getting Greens elected, but under the new fully proportional voting system, a single party majority is impossible. Polling shows that if we win 1, 2, or even more Greens seats, Greens could hold the balance of power for our next national government. The new proportional voting system means electing the first Green to the Senate is well within our reach. But our recent stonking by-election win in the heart of Labour territory and the growing attention our party is getting means I am setting us a new goal. I want the second candidate on our list to be elected too. That means getting more votes than anyone else in Cardiff Penarth. And to do that, I need every single person here to commit to visiting us between now and May. If, like me, you're terrified by the idea of 30 Reform Senate members, 30 Reform Senate members spewing hate and dividing our communities, I'm asking you to step up for us and our campaign. In 2026, we can, we must, and we will get Greens elected to the Senate. And now, conference, I want to introduce you to the person you'll be working to get elected alongside me. A dedicated community activist, a fearless campaigner for social and climate justice, a strong voice for nature, a proud young Green, Tessa Marshall.
Diolch. Diolch, thank you. Diolch yn fawr iawn I Anthony, thank you. Thank you to Sam, Lauren, Meg, Phil, Matt, David, bawb yn y Blaid Werth Cymru sydd wedi cefnogi fi dros y flynyddoedd diwethaf. And thank you to everyone who's here today to support the Wales Green Party to win not just one, but at least 2 seats in the Senedd in 2026. I'm here today as your second candidate for Caerdydd Penarth. My name's Tessa Marshall, a queer, Welsh-speaking, disabled, deaf woman. I joined the party 4 years ago when I was leading a campaign to save the Northern Meadows, an area of ancient woodland treasured by the community I grew up in. The campaign grew from a small Facebook group to thousands of people petitioning for Welsh Labour government to protect a 30-acre space for nature. We campaigned hard, writing letters, making phone calls, holding protests, meetings, building tree houses, literally doing everything under the sun to protect the space. And instead of meeting with us, we were ignored. In a debate in the Senedd, not a single MS spoke in favour of the petition to protect the meadows. We need Greens in the Senedd because Labour won't protect our communities and our vanishing green spaces from corporate greed. I'm standing now because we need politicians who will stand up for our communities and who know environmental justice is also social justice.
The conference, I'm speaking to you as if we know each other. Honestly, this is my first time here, despite being in the party for 4 years. As a Welsh member, I've never felt that conference was for me. So I'm not here because I'm a party stalwart. I'm here because I've spent half my life fighting for social justice and equality to protect community spaces and our natural environment in Wales. I'm here because my community is under-resourced, underserved, and under surveillance, with excessive policing and facial recognition cameras on our streets, and I refuse to ignore the deep injustices that pave our streets. Conference, I'm grateful to be here. Me standing on this stage with you today is a huge win for the Welsh Party. And we'll take the wins where we can get them. Because truthfully, to be a Green politician is to lose quite a lot. It's to lose more times than you can count. You will lose 20 times before you maybe win, but you keep going anyway, because there's simply nothing else you can do. Because our communities are crying out for help, care, dignity, support, resources, something, anything to help them get by. And I'm committed to fighting for them. So I'm taking this fight from the streets of Cardiff to the Senedd. Ac tro yma, ni'n mynd I ennill. This time, we're going to win. Because losing isn't an option when the far right is rising in communities where socialism once thrived. Reform are due to win unprecedented numbers of seats in the Senedd, and they could very well be the largest party. We know, instead of offering solutions, they're intensifying the vicious attacks on our queer siblings, on the trans community, on immigrants and refugees. They're banking on racism and cashing in on the despair across the country. And they're funded by the very people making millions, billions on the backs of our misery. They're funded by the people building property empires while you pay half your salary on rent. They sell overpriced drugs and therapies to the NHS. They ramp up the cost of childcare, social care, and end-of-life care. They build weapons to sell to Israel or the UAE, and they get rich on these deadly industries. They've built their party on drilling for oil and gas and the destruction of habitats, species, and ecosystems necessary for the functioning of life on Earth. Conference, we know all these things are interconnected. Climate justice, environmental justice, is social justice, it's racial justice, it's economic justice, and it's global justice. And conference, Wales has been here before. Our communities were hollowed out. We worked, we got sick, and we died, while coal barons made their fortune, abandoning us, the people who lived there, when the profits disappeared. We still suffer today with the health issues, the disabilities, the cramped housing, the environmental degradation, and the deadly landslips from old coal tips. And the exploitation hasn't stopped there. We're now experiencing the selling off of our community spaces, the ones our forefathers built. Our libraries, our leisure centres, our historic buildings, our music venues, our green spaces, the very fabric of our communities. The streets which made us who we are no longer ours. And that is why social justice must be at the heart of green policy in Wales. So we must offer hope. Mae rhaid I ni godi gobaith. Mae rhaid I ni ymladd casineb ar bob stryd. Mae rhaid I ni ymladd yr argyfwng hinsawdd ar bob stryd. Mae rhaid I ni ymladd mewin ar bob stryd. A mae rhaid I ni gofalu am ein gilydd a brwydro dros gobaith ar bob stryd. Conference, we need to fight. Street by street, house by house, person by person, to build a safe, fair, just, green and bright future for our communities and our children. Now, I was raised by the streets and the meadows of Cardiff, and I refuse to ignore the struggle of the people there and across the country and across the world face every day. And I'm determined to fight for them in the face of political indifference and state violence. In Wales, we look after each other because no one else will. Labour has failed to deliver what our communities need. They failed to protect our communities from the corporate onslaught of the last 26 years. And by electing Greens to the Senedd, Cardiff will draw a line in the sand to say no more. By electing Greens to the Senedd, I will be there alongside Anthony, fighting every day for the society and the future that we know is possible. And Conference, Greens in the Senedd will stand up and fight back. Diolch yn fawr iawn. Thank you. Ymlaen. Diolch.